Here it is at last, the new Porsche Taycan. We've been waiting for this for months, and now we finally get to see what it looks like without any camouflage. Let's take a closer look. So this is really cool. It's a four-door sports car. It's a little bit smaller than a Panamera, about 1.5 inches shorter, about 3.5 inches less long, and over 1 inch wider. So the proportions are really attractive and really pleasing. And what's really neat about this car, it's got two motors, one in the front and one in the rear. And combined, the Taycan Turbo, which is what we're looking at here, makes 616 horsepower. The Taycan Turbo S, which we haven't seen yet, it makes 750 horsepower. So yeah, that's moving. What that means on the track is this car can go from 0 to 60 in 3 seconds. The Turbo S can do it in 2.6. If I know Porsche, there'll be more variants to come. You just know that, right? You can laugh if you want about the use of the word turbo because you don't turbocharge an electric motor, but we can go beyond that because this thing has the performance befitting the turbo badge, so I'm not going to argue with them. And how they do that is the two electric motors are set up to where the one in the rear is about twice as powerful as the one in the front. Not quite, but pretty close. The front motor is a coaxial design, which means the drive shaft that goes from left to right goes through the motor itself, and that saves space. It's also really cool. In the back, they don't do that because of other packaging considerations, but what's going on in the back is there's a 2-speed transmission, which there isn't another electric car that does that right now. What that allows is a really quick 0 to 60 time of 2.6 seconds in the case of the Turbo S, but also a top speed of 162 miles an hour. And also really good efficiency on the highway because you can be in more of a cruising gear. And in fact, if you put this vehicle in its range mode, which is its eco mode, it actually drives with the rear in second gear all the time. Now you may think, wait a minute, the two ends are in different gears? Well, remember, this is an electric car. There's no drive shaft between the front and the rear. They can do anything they want and it won't matter. All that matters is it generates turbo performance. Of course, being an electric car, this has a huge battery underneath the floor. In this case, it's 93.4 kilowatt hours, which is the electric equivalent of gallons. And so what that means in terms of range, we don't yet know, but I'm thinking it's going to be between 250 and 300 miles, but we'll have to wait and see. The battery's position under the floor gives this vehicle the lowest center of gravity of any Porsche made. And it's also really slippery because it doesn't need a lot of radiator openings. Its coefficient of drag is 0.22, which is the best of any Porsche on the road today. So what's really, really interesting about this car is the battery, the electric motors, the inverters, all that stuff. It's built around an 800 volt standard, which is about double what most other electric cars are built around. And what that means is that the cabling doesn't have to be as fat or heavy, and it also charges really quickly. Porsche says that you can fill this battery using a DC fast charger from 5 to 80% in 22.5 minutes. And the chargers required to do that, they already exist. Electrify America is starting to build out a network of chargers from coast to coast. They're not done yet, but I've been to a couple of them, and some of them are rated at 350 kilowatts. This car charges at 270 kilowatts, which is fantastic, but what that means is the chargers, they're going in, and you'll be able to drive from LA to New York, I don't know, in a year maybe less. But at home, you can charge it using 240, and what's really cool is there's a charge door on each side of the car for that, and it's got a 9.6 kilowatt onboard charger, which means if you have a 240 volt charger at home, you can fill it in 11 or 12 hours. And that's fine because really nobody starts from empty. And if you're asleep, you'll be full in the morning, so all good there. I just can't wait to drive it because this car has all kinds of performance-oriented options that you'll find on any other Porsche. It's got PDCC, adaptive stabilizer bars, PASM adaptive dampers. There's huge brakes with 10 piston calipers, and you can get carbon ceramic discs as an option. Not that you'll ever need those because this vehicle's regenerative braking capacity, that's the magnetic braking that the electric motors can do, is 0.39 Gs maximum, which is double any of the electric cars we've measured at our test track. And that's pretty amazing because that means 90 to 95% of the stops you'll ever make will be magnetic. You'll push on the brake pedal because Porsche thinks that's the only way to apply brakes because this car's built for people who like to drive. But still, you're going to get magnetic braking. And the pads, they say you have to change them at 6 years just because they might corrode before they wear out. This is my first time sitting in the new Taycan, and I gotta say, it looks modern and familiar at the same time. Familiar because it's got these horizontal lines that a lot of Porsches have, a cockpit that goes door to door, this prominent center console, but what's different is it's all screens. The big curved screen in front of me doesn't have any real instruments, they're all virtual, and you can customize them using the buttons on the steering wheel here. The controls for the lights and the traction control are touch panels out on the edges. There's some real controls for the windows and for the mirrors, which is nice because burying those on a touchscreen is a real bad idea. But what we've got here is an infotainment screen, but there's also another one for the passenger. This is an option, but the passenger can be a true co-pilot. They can actually adjust the navigation or the music, and then once they've made a decision, they can port it over to the main screen. And you can set it up to where the map completely dominates this display right in front of the driver. So this is a really useful cockpit. These are not just gadgets. And then here, this is where you control the climate. You can set your temperature and your modes and all of that. But also there's a touchpad here that allows you to make screen selections up here. But also, if you notice these vents, they don't have any grills that move. That all happens deep in the dashboard, and you can use a mode here to select dispersed or concentrated, or you can drag your finger around to aim them right at your face if you like that, or your hands if you like that. So this is a really useful use of touchscreens, and they're kind of spread around the cabin for a whole bunch of different purposes. And at the end of the day, though, this is also very driver focused. None of this takes a lot of attention away from the task of driving. The things you need to do as a driver are right here at the outside edges of the steering wheel, and what you need to look at is straight ahead. So yeah, this is a driver-focused electric car. The first impression I have of the Taycan is this looks and feels and even smells like a Porsche. There is a quality to the way it's put together, a cohesiveness to the design, a familiarity about it in terms of the main themes, but the details in the screens and the way the menus are set up are pure modern EV. So it's a really nice blending of the two. You don't feel like they stumbled onto something. They really thought about what it is to be a Porsche in the terms of an electric car, and they've really nailed it. Remember, I'm 6'2", and I fit pretty well back here. Part of the reason is this is a glass roof. All US versions of the Taycan will have this glass roof. There's not even a bar across the middle here between the door pillars because the structure is strong enough to withstand all the side impacts and pass all those tests without a bar connecting left and right across the top. So this is really open. The Taycan has a 911 styled roof. It's really got this really nice fastback shape, and the way they do that is really interesting. You remember there's a battery pack under the floor, but what they've done is they've omitted cells right here where your feet go, and they call that the foot garage. So this is actually the floor of the car that's close to the ground. Most of the batteries are at this level. And so they've omitted batteries right there so that they can put the rear seat passengers down low, give them a nice sporty sports car feel, and allow for the nice fastback roof that defines a Porsche shape. And adding glass and getting rid of a little headliner thickness helps too. So there's actually decent headroom back here. They say that this particular glass is treated so that 100% of UV is blocked. Obviously we're indoors right now. I don't know how that's going to play out, but that sounds really good. One of the things about this interior is we've got leather seats in this particular model, but you can get a leather-free option if you want. And that's independent of any kind of trim level. That's a standalone option depending on how you want your interior to be built. So that's really neat. Back here, there's more of these vents that have the same type of grills that you adjust electronically. And if you get the quad zone air conditioning, there's another screen back here. This is the 5th one that allows the rear seat passengers to make adjustments. This car technically seats 5. You can see there's another seat belt right here, but there's also kind of a prominent hump here. So I don't know who would want to sit here, probably a small child. Maybe you could use this buckle to install a child seat. But certainly you can install child seats on the outside really easily. And this rear seat, they also fold down to expand the trunk volume. And they fold pretty flat with the surface in the back. We don't know the actual volume of this trunk in numerical fashion, but it's actually a good size and it's really easy to open. This is a low lift over and it goes way back in there. And of course you can fold the seats down if you need to. Around front we have another trunk, and it's not very big, but you could put a suitcase in here. Just one probably, but certainly there's room in the front for some more stuff. The cool thing about the Taycan's charging is you can do it from either side. Here on the driver's side, you just wipe your finger underneath there. This is the European charge port, but yeah, this is how you'd plug in at home. When you're done, you just do that and it closes up again. And then we go to the other side. We have the DC fast charge. You can charge normally here, but if you're going to do fast charging, you want to set up on this side. Just wipe here. It opens up. There's an icebreaker function in case that's iced over in the winter. And then of course the DC fast pins are underneath this little flap. So that's it. This is the new Porsche Taycan. And I can't tell you, this thing really lived up to my expectations. It really looks the part. And I'll let you in on a little secret. A couple of weeks ago, I got to ride in a prototype on a closed course. And let me tell you, this is not just about going fast in a straight line. No, this is a Porsche. It can corner, it can brake, it can thrill you in 4 dimensions, and the 4th dimension being time. This powertrain doesn't get hot. It'll launch over and over again. It'll do lap after lap. This is not just a parlor trick. This is a Porsche.